Welcome back to the lecture series of microprocessors and microcontrollers. Today is lecture 18. In this lecture, we shall go back to a recap of addressing modes of 8086 and then continue our discussion regarding the instruction set of 8086, which will be very important for you such that you can understand the programming of 8086 in assembly language programming. So as I said, we'll be having a brief recap of the addressing modes of 8086. And continuing that one, we will talk about the instruction set of 8086. Addressing modes, as the definition says, every instruction has to operate upon data in the way in which your source operand is been addressed is called an addressing mode. All the different types of addressing modes we have seen in our last class very thoroughly. So here you can see all the different addressing mode. Their groups are available on one side, and in that group what individual addressing modes are there are available to you on the other side. When we talk about group 1, okay, group 1 consists of these two addressing modes, that is register addressing and immediate addressing. And group 1 is about instruction addressing of data in which the data is either available immediate in the instruction or it is available in one of the registers. So data is accessible in the instruction as immediately or as in a form of a register. It is there in some register. Now in the second group, when you see, okay, we have all these 6 different addressing. But second group, it is about the addressing of data which is stored in memory. So here in the instructions, we are accessing that memory location. So in all the different ways in which we are accessing that memory location is about this all different addressing modes here. So in the direct addressing mode, the memory address of the given data is accessible by its address, 16-bit address itself. In the second one, that memory address is located in one of the registers. In this one, the memory address is located in base register, either BX or BP. In this one, the memory address is located in index register. In this one, the memory address is split into 2 parts, and the 2 registers will contain each half part of that memory address. One will be there in base register, that is either BX or BP, and other part will be there in the index register, that is SI or DI. Okay, and finally we have one more addressing in which one the memory address is not split into 2 parts but in 3 parts it is there, and each one, that is a base register, BX or BP, SI index register, either SI or DI, and a displacement number. These 3 things will be there: base address, index address, and displacement address. These all 3 together, when you add, you will get your offset address of data, actually saying that your actual address of data where it is stored in the memory. Okay, the next group of addressing is the string addressing. This addressing is specifically made for string type of data. String type of data, the data in which the characters are there and not integers. So for that one, dedicated addressing is there, and also as we will see in our next coming class, that dedicated instructions are also there. Dedicated instructions, dedicated addressing modes are for string handling. Okay. Next group is about the data which is directly coming and going out at the IO ports. It is not there in the processor, it is not there in the memory, but the data is directly being accessed at the input-output ports. It is directly being taken from the input port, or it is after processing directly sent out to the output port. For that type of addressing, we have checked it out, the addressing mode for IO ports. There are 2 types again. Here you can check it: direct addressing and indirect addressing. So in the direct addressing, we can see that the address of the port is mentioned in the instruction. In indirect addressing mode, the address of that port, it is not available in the instruction directly, but it is there in one of the registers. That register is been accessed here. Okay, and then we have this relative addressing. The relative addressing is used by the conditional jump instructions. Conditional jump instructions are the normal flow of execution is from top to bottom. In between, at certain point, on a condition basis, you have to decide whether to execute the further next instruction or skip them. Decision making, whenever you are making a decision to what to do next, that time you will make a use of conditional jump instructions. So that time the conditional jump instructions make use of this relative addressing. Okay, we have seen one example under that one, that jump if 0. So if that 0 flag is set, that instruction will execute and it will jump to the location displacement indicated in that jump instruction. Okay, and finally is the implied addressing. In the implied addressing, we have checked it out that we need not to mention the operand separately, the operand is the part of opcode itself. So 1 byte instructions of opcode will be there, in which one the operands are implied. The processor knows upon what data it has to, or upon what particular thing it has to operate. One good example is the CLI instruction, where it has to clear the interrupt flag. Now, our today's topic will be the instruction set of 8086. This particular slide I have shown you earlier also. This is a sample program in assembly language program. Okay, in assembly language programming, this is one of the sample program, and program means a set of instructions written to given to the processor to solve a certain task or a problem. Okay, so what generally a program contains? A program contains assembly directives like this. Assembly directives are the hints, some type of hints or directions given to the assembler, such that it can translate the assembly code into the machine code. Machine code is binary, zeros and ones. This is assembly code. Assembly code humans can understand. Machine code a computer or a processor can understand, which is basically zeros and ones only. So assembler will be acting as a translator here. What we write in assembly language programming, assembler converts that one into the machine code, always with the help of this assembler directives. About assembler directives, after completing the instruction set, briefly we will talk and make understand. But very simple general understanding about the assembler directives is that they are the hints. They are certain hints or directions we are giving as a programmer to the assembler, such that the translation of our assembly language code into the machine code becomes easier. Next are the instructions, which we'll be going to discuss in this class and possibly continued in the next class. All the different instructions of the 8086 processor we will check. So before we jump directly into the instruction set, these points will help you to understand why we are working with the assembly language programming, and also this particular this side of mine. If you closely look here, there are certain 5 reasons I have indicated why assembly language programming should be used. Assembly language programming should be used to make the programmer smarter, because assembly language instructions are hardware specific, processor specific. More logical thinking you have to do while writing the assembly language program than normal other higher level language programs. Okay, always there are disadvantages also of writing the assembly language program, that also we will see. Anyhow, these are the few advantages of the writing the programming in assembly language program. The web development will be very easy for that particular hardware. Narrow focus upon the different devices we can make it. Full control we can give it upon to the hardware, because assembly language is very processor specific, hardware specific. You write a very close things into the processor. Of the important use of assembly language program is that it is used for developing and writing the driver softwares. We know that any new hardware we connect to your computer, it asks to install the drivers of it. Okay, any USB device you are connecting, any camera you are connecting, any certain device you are connecting externally to your computer, it installs a certain hardware for it to run properly. So all that hardware driver codes are written in assembly language programming, because this is more hardware specific. See, other higher level languages are very general in nature. You can write by taking higher level languages, you can write the program to any computer, any type of a processor. But assembly language program instructions are dedicated to that hardware only. Like 8086 instruction set, what we'll be checking out in this unit 1, they will be slightly different in the case of unit 2, 8051 assembly language instructions. Okay, assembly language instructions and assembly language programming, always it is a processor specific, hardware specific. Okay, the instructions changes if you change the processor. Whereas in C language or any other higher language you take it, they are not processor specific, they are general in nature. Any code you write it there, just you require a cross compiler, such that on which device you want to write it, just use that cross compiler and it will translate to that particular hardware specific thing. But assembly language are very down to the machine, very close to the processor hardware, processor architecture. So that is why very efficiently we can utilize the hardware for our purpose. That they are the important points of this. So we have already seen about this one. There are the higher level languages, there are low level languages. Low level languages, lowest level is machine language, which is zeros and ones, which is difficult for us to understand. There is difficulty in debugging that one. That is why the low level languages further divided into machine level and assembly. Okay, in machine level there are certain problems you can tell that only machine can understand. Okay, it will be machine friendly but not user friendly. So to avoid this one, we are taking some step ahead the language which we can understand and it relates very close to the hardware. Okay, machine can relate very closely to that language and we as a humans can very easily understand and becomes very user friendly. As I say that XM language is user friendly, it is not that much user friendly when compared to the any higher level languages, but always it is very compatible, very hardware friendly also. So this is a type of bridge between the hardware friendly languages and the human friendly languages. Machine language is one example of that. Higher level languages are more user friendly but less machine friendly, less hardware friendly. So SM language is a balance between that. So that is why we are studying this SM language program. To overcome these problems, the programmer developed another way of writing the instructions in the form of English alphabets, mnemonics we call them, and that language is the assembly language. Okay, so here we require certain tool which converts our assembly language into a machine language, and that tool is the assembler. So it translates our XM language code into the machine code because the hardware understand only the machine code, and this particular tool, software tool, it is basically a program which converts our program into the machine code. Our program is the English mnemonics, what we use for writing our assembly language program. We will see all such mnemonics in our today's class. So here there are total 6 categories of the instructions of 8086. There are more than 100 instructions in 8086 which are commonly used. So all those more than 100 instructions are categorized, grouped and categorized into these 6 groups. So the group 1 is data transfer instructions. As the name suggests, here we will study the instructions which are specifically used for the operation of transferring the data from one place to another place, or moving the data basically. Okay, exchanging the data between two hardware modules. So this is particularly the group of the instructions where the data transfer instructions are there. Very good and simple example in this one is MOV instruction. Earlier while discussing addressing modes, we have seen that MOV instruction repeatedly in every example. So that MOV is for moving data. Okay, so one example is that one. For further more details into that one, we will see one by one. Next is arithmetic instructions. Arithmetic instructions are all our arithmetic operations: add, subtract, multiply, divide. Okay, so that will come under this one. Next is the set of logical instructions. Logical instructions are the one which performs logical operations. Okay, what are logical operations? You might have studied in your earlier semesters all the different logic gates: AND operation, okay, OR operation, XOR operation, NOT operation. So these are all different logical operations here, including the shift, rotate. These all will be there in this logical operations set group. Next is the string manipulation operation. As I earlier also said that while discussing the addressing mode, we have dedicated addressing modes for the string manipulation instructions. So these are the string manipulation instruction group here. So here we'll be discussing about 5 to 6 different string manipulation instructions which are dedicatedly designed for handling the strings. Handling the strings means copying the string from one place to another place, that is moving. Okay, comparing two strings, inserting certain characters in between a given string, deleting certain characters from within the given string, and these all things. So using that one, especially the comparing two strings thing, we can always write a password verification program. Okay, you might have working with all the different accounts. Your Gmail account is there, your Facebook account is there, all the different social media and other bank account, everything is there. You see that it will ask you password for enter, and if you enter a wrong password, it will show you that you have entered a wrong password. And if you give a correct password, if you enter, it will give you the access of that particular account. So basically, in background, your password verification code, which is in turn comparison of strings, that program will run. It will compare two strings. One string is your actual password, which is saved in that website's database. Another is a manually entered password, that one currently you are entering. So what that particular password verification program does is that it will take one string as your database string, what is there, okay, the password already saved into that website account, and another one which you are manually entering. So it becomes that two strings. So that two strings comparison, it will do character by character, and at any place if the characters are not matched, it will fail. The program will end there and show an error message that your password is not correct or not same. Okay, so that program also we shall see for understanding how our assembly language programming is used in how much sophisticated ways. Okay. Anyhow, okay, I will just please with this control transfer instructions. So here, as I talked earlier about the relative addressing, where jump instructions are used, conditional execution jumps. So all the branching and looping instructions will be discussed under this group. Branching and looping means you are executing from top to bottom. At certain point, you have to jump to other place, either forward jump or loop it backwards. So all such instructions will be discussed here. And final set of instructions are there called as machine control instructions. These instructions are used for controlling the machine, controlling the processor. So there are certain specific instructions which controls the hardware completely. So we shall talk about that instructions here. Let us start by discussing the data transfer instructions. So the data transfer instructions, the instructions that are used to transfer the data addresses into the registers, memory locations and IO ports. All sort of instructions which are used, meant for transferring of data from one place to another place. That one another place could be memory to register, memory to IO port, register to IO port to register. All such transfers are done using the help of data transfer instructions. So we shall talk about the data transfer instructions now. So starting with the common known instruction which we have repeatedly used as an example in the addressing mode discussion. That is this move instruction, MOV. So this is a shortcut what we have used for MOVE. So this MOV is used for moving our data from one place to another place. Now that one place and another place could be, it is from source location to the destination location. And earlier while discussing the instruction formats, I have told you that the instruction formats in 8086 will be, here we will be having operation is move, register 2 here is our destination, register 1 is the source. So how the operation goes on, the content at register 1, when it is written brackets, the content at register 1 will move into the register 2, becomes the content of register 2. Okay, and when I say move instruction, as a name it is move, but is not actually move. Technically it's not move, it is technically a copy type of thing. So move instruction copies, it copies what is there in this register 1 into this register. Okay, so these two data transfer from this to this will happen using this one. And always the source and destination, as I said, could be anything. It can be register, it can be memory location, it can be IO port, or sometimes in some cases it can be immediate data also. We have seen the immediate addressing mode where our data itself is given in the instruction. So we are moving the data given in the instruction into the given register in that instruction. So all these different ways of handling the move instruction. Obviously with the after move there is another instruction XCHG. We call this instruction as exchange. Okay, in move it is only moving from one place to another place, the data one way. But in exchange, the exchange of data is happening between the two sources or destination, both. That means source can become destination, destination can become source, and simultaneously a bidirectional movement of data will happen. So that means when I write exchange register 2, register 1, what is there in register 1 will be moved into register 2, and what is there in register 2 will be moved into register 1. Basically, they will just exchange the data what they have, register 1 and register 2. Suppose there is some number 3 in register 2 and 4 in register 1. After executing this instruction, here register 2 will contain 4 and register 1 will contain 3. So they just exchange their data. So that is exchange instruction. So move instruction is this, exchange instruction is this. These are the possible addressings followed in the move instruction, and these are possible addressing followed in the exchange instruction. Okay, when I say addressing, you can see here, move instruction supports all sort of addressing, register addressing. Okay, register and memory means it supports the group 2 type of addressing also, where your one of the location is memory. Okay, and this also, these two examples are the case of group 2 type of addressing. Immediate addressing is there, immediate data into register, immediate data into memory. So all different addressing modes what is supported by the move instructions are indicated here. Whereas exchange, it is there register to register exchange or register to memory exchange. Okay, getting it? Memory to memory exchange is not possible. I caution you here when I am talking about exchange instruction, either of that two locations which are exchanging, one should be definitely a register. Okay, another can be either register or memory. As you see here, register 1, and one case it can be register 2, but another case it can be memory. But exchange memory comma memory is not allowed. Exchanging between two memory locations is not allowed. So that is source and destination both as memory addresses are not supported. That type of addressing is not supported by the exchange instruction. Hope we can understand. Data. Even immediate addressing is not supported here. Immediate addressing, obviously, exchange when it is there, two locations has to exchange their content. So immediate data is not a location, it is data only. That's why immediate addressing is also not supported here. And also mandatorily one of that location should be a register. Both cannot be memory. Exchanging between memory and memory is not allowed. Next is this push and pop instructions. Earlier, while talking about the interrupts, we have came across this one. Whenever the program is been executed, at certain point, whenever the interrupt is triggered, processor will stop the execution of main program, obviously after acknowledging that interrupt. Okay, if that interrupt is non-maskable or if that interrupt is maskable and the interrupt flag is allowing that the maskable interrupt to continue. So that time the processor will stop its current execution. When it is stopping its current execution, three things, each one of 2 byte, that is CS content, segment address content in CS of the main program, IP content, that is offset address of the next instruction to be executed, again 2 bytes, okay, which is there in IP, and our flag status, third thing, which is also 2 byte in format, 2 bytes of CS, 2 bytes of IP, and 2 bytes of flag. All will be moved, okay, onto the stack memory, saved onto the stack memory. So here, accessing the data from the stack memory, we are not going to use move instruction. We are using 2 instructions out of that. That is, one is push, another is pop. Pushing means saving something onto the stack memory. So when I write push REG, what is there in REG will be saved onto the stack memory. And stack memory, you have to understand, it is a type of memory when the data is placed one over another in the stacked manner. Suppose as a stack of books I have, stack of cards we have it. So always if the stack of books is there, you can just pick the topmost book first. So that type of memory is a stack memory. So what happens here? So when I write push REG is suppose 2 bytes here, 2 bytes of content in REG is pushed onto the stack, saved onto the stack. How it is done? Stack pointer SP register is pointing the top of the stack always. SP points to the top of the stack. So when I am moving 2 bytes into the stack, after saving that 2 bytes there, the SP has to point a new location. For that purpose, it is subtracting 2 from the previous value of SP. So suppose SP is currently 10 decimal. We'll work with decimal numbers such that our understanding becomes easier. So SP is a stack pointer pointing to the location number 10 currently. After executing this particular thing, our location 10 and 9, each one contains 1 byte. So location 10 and 9 will be saving the content of this register, and SP will decrement itself by 2. It will decrease by 2 quantities such that it can point to 8 after that, because 10 and 9 are occupied the content of REG. It has to point to 8 such that next time again when I am writing push, where it will save, it is not overwriting the what is their location 10 and 9 already. It has to point a new location. So for pointing new location, SP is decrementing by 2. And the stack in 8086 is top bottom, as I earlier also said you once. Stack of 8086 is top bottom. So it will be having the topmost address first. It will save the content currently given at the topmost address, decrement itself. Okay, according to the data size here, as registers generally are 16-bit in 8086. So 2 bytes, 16-bit means 2 bytes, 2 locations it will save that particular thing, and the pointer will decrease itself by 2 quantities. Okay, 2 spaces, 2 bytes, it will decrement. As I said in the example, if before executing this instruction, if it is 10, after executing this instruction at location number 10 and location number 9, at these 2 places, it will store these 2 bytes of this REG, and SP will point to the next location, that is 8. As the stack format is top bottom, it will be decreasing every time. So this is how it is that stack pointer will decrease by 2. Okay, memory address in the stack, it will be calculated by taking the stack segment address multiplied by 10 hexadecimal or 16 decimal, whatever you call it, is same thing. 10 hexadecimal is equal to 16 decimal plus offset. Offset is there in SP. Always about the stack memory, you have to understand that segment address is contained in stack segment memory and offset address is contained in stack pointer in normal cases. In some cases, base pointer is also used, but anyhow, in most of the cases, stack pointer will be used. So offset address here, segment address here, segment address into 10 hexadecimal plus offset address will give you the physical memory address of our data. So this is how it happens. Okay, and when I use push memory, that means something is there in normal data memory, that one I am pushing into the stack data memory. So that time also it's the same thing happens. Operations are same whether I write the push content of register into the stack memory or push the content of data memory into the stack memory. Normal data from that memory addresses will be taken and pushed onto the stack memory, and whenever the data is pushed onto stack memory, SP will be decremented according to the how much data you are pushing. If you are pushing only 1 byte, suppose I write push AL. AL is a 1 byte register, 8 bits. Okay, if I write push AL, only 1 byte will be moved into the SP and that stack, and SP will decrement by only 1 number. Suppose push AL I am writing and SP originally it is 10. After executing push AL, it will become 9. And that location number 10 will contain the data which was there in AL register. Okay, likewise, pop is the inverse operation of the push. Push will push the data, store the data onto the stack and decrement the stack pointer. Pop will do inverse, it will take the data out from the topmost of the stack and increment the stack pointer. Okay, so when I write push register, 2 successive bytes which are pointed by the SP. Suppose SP is pointing currently 8, so it will move the data content available at 8 and available at 9 into this given register, and it will point to 10. Okay, so like that, push and pop are inverse of each other. Push is used for saving the data onto the stack memory, and pop is used for removing or taking the data back from the stack memory. Okay, so these are also data transfer instructions. Next is our in and out. Earlier also we have seen it that IO port addressing contains or uses only 2 instructions, in and out. Now in and out instructions are used for moving the data between any other module and IO module. Okay, IO ports, and either it can be register or memory address. So in instruction works as, if I write in AL comma in the brackets DX, DX contains the address of the port from where it has to take the data in. So always operation, destination, source. Source is here the port address, input port address from where my data has to come and taken into AL. Okay, this is in. So similarly, in one more example is given here. Okay, in from address into AL. Instead of writing some that port address into DX, then using that one, this is indirect port addressing, and here having that port address directly available in the instruction itself, this is direct port addressing. Okay, address of the port directly given in the instruction itself, such that from that address the data will come into AL. Here first that port address is stored into the DX register, and the DX register is used in the instruction. Okay, for movement of data. Here when you see only examples of in are there here this side, The example of out instruction is available on that side. Okay, in and out again they are opposite to each other. In is used for taking the data into the processor from the input port. Out instruction is used for sending the data out onto the output port. Okay, in is for taking the input into the processor. Out is for sending out the data onto the output port. So IO data, input output port data are moved. Data transfers of that one can be done by using the in and out instructions. Here move instruction cannot be used. You cannot use MOV for moving the data from your register into the output port, okay, or taking the input port into the register. Using move you cannot do. You have to use only in and out instructions respectively. They are dedicatedly meant to work with the IO type of data only. Input output data will be accessed using in and out instructions. So that is all for today's lecture. Thank you. See you in the next lecture.